straighten up, and then where's my hands? To sync.
That's so funny.
Yeah. So if the audio gets out of sync, I have a visual cue because it'll show up. There'll be a spike in the audio that I can line up with the visual of my hand. That's what the clacker is. That's what that's for. I found that out, and I was like, oh my God, I learned something new.
Yeah. My name is Haley Bassett. I was born in 1991 to cattle rancher parents.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Did that add to your kind of like artistic kind of creativity?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's had a huge impact on my life, like especially my art practice, because I lived like on a few different farms in this area, but all very out of the way.
Yeah.
So very isolated, and didn't have a lot of access to like arts and culture, really. I always loved to draw, and my dad was like a very naturally gifted draftsman. Like he just
awesome.
Was very naturally talented, so I'd ask him to draw me things all the time. They definitely understood it. Varying levels of support. Yeah, I've always known I wanted to be an artist, like since I was like 5. And I told my mom that, and she was like, oh, you shouldn't be an artist. They don't make any money. But I was dead serious.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kept practicing drawing, and what I ended up like really attaching myself to was like horses. I drew horses like obsessively. I even went so far, like I studied their anatomy and like different breeds, like the history of breeds. Really awesome. Like I nerded right out. Yeah.
Do you want to talk about, I guess, like kind of your cultural background, and if that, obviously that influences a lot of your artwork?
Yeah, it does very much. Yeah. So I have Eastern European descent on my mom's side and Métis and also settler descent on my dad's side. That has really come into my practice in a big way because, I mean, I think like anybody, I was really, I didn't really understand how I came to be here, you know, especially like knowing from such a young age that I wanted to be an artist and being born and raised in a place where that really didn't seem to be advantageous for that. So I kind of like used to sort of lament where I was from, as if whether it's warranted or not.
Yeah, absolutely.
I definitely felt that way for a long time, but now I definitely, cherish the fact that this is my home and it's such a large part of my life. I was looking into my family's history and how they sort of converged on this area and how much that really explained like my being, basically.
The European side of your family, like how long ago did they emigrate to Canada?
They came from Russia during the Revolution.
Oh, wow. Mm-hmm. Crazy. That's like super cool and like fascinating.
Yeah, it's a pretty dark chapter for them. It was a pretty difficult time.
Kind of like fleeing all the craziness going on, kind of having that Russian descent. How does that change your thoughts about your own, I guess, like artwork and your own process? Like, are you worried about how people like feel about it right now because of the kind of like the attitude?
I wonder if it could change. I mean, people's attitudes can definitely change. So what might have been kind of benign, sort of artistic style before might have like more of a negative connotation now. But at the same time, there's so much crossover between like Ukrainian, Russian folk art.
How would you describe yourself as an artist? Like you're obviously very multidisciplinary. You don't really stick to a single medium, which is honestly, like, to me, that's a good thing. Like I know a lot of people say like you'll never be an expert at something if you don't focus, but it's like, I don't know, that's boring.
I don't know. I guess I call myself an interdisciplinary artist. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of funny because I feel like that's something that like the art community has to bestow on you before you can call yourself that. The term artist is so loaded, and it's unfortunate because it really shouldn't be, because it should be like something that people can feel comfortable claiming. You don't have to necessarily like pursue arts professionally to be called an artist. You don't have to sell work to be called an artist. Like,
Have you encountered that whole like starving artist mentality a lot?
Oh,
over the
yeah.
years?
My mom, like, you know, she wanted me to go to school, but for something practical like teaching or nursing. And I always knew I wanted to study art. So it took quite a long time for me to like allow myself to pursue an education in art. And yeah, and even coming up to it now, like I'm a professional artist and I make my living mostly through that. But when I tell people I'm an artist, they assume like, oh, you paint like pet portraits or like you have an Etsy store, or like, and those are great things, you know, but like that's not really my path with that. So people are generally pretty dismissive at first, and then I have to be like, no. Like, oh, nice hobby.
Yeah.
It'll never amount to anything.
Even half of the people that I graduated with felt that way.
Yeah. Something I really appreciated about my upbringing, you know, like growing up on a ranch in a like pretty isolated part of Canada, and then going to art school in Vancouver with a lot of kids who like were raised in the suburbs or whatever, and I realized like, oh, most people didn't live how I've lived.
I bet. That's had to be quite a culture shock.
Oh, it was a major culture shock, yeah. Kind of made things difficult. But also it made me realize that I have a unique perspective that's probably underrepresented in the art world. When I was growing up, I was not part of like the arts and culture scene at all. Like I thought the art gallery was for tourists. So like I rarely went there. And it was like when I was finishing up school that I really kind of tapped into the community, the arts community here.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Was there like a catalyst or like a specific moment that kind of like helped you kind of realize that like say like the Dawson Creek Gallery wasn't just like a touristy place with...
Well, actually, it's pretty funny. When I was doing my degree, I came back here during the summers to work, and I was working for the city of Dawson Creek. And one year I was assigned to be the groundskeeper of the gallery.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and that's how I met Marcia and the curator Kit. I had some work showing in like just a small pop-up gallery downtown. So that's kind of how they knew of me. And when I started working there, I introduced myself. I'm like, oh, Haley Bassett, I'm the new groundskeeper. And Marcia was like, you're Haley Bassett? And I was like, do you know my name? So yeah. And then so that year I started teaching like life drawing classes for the gallery and stuff. So
what have you achieved as an artist in already, like your shows, for instance, and what do you want to still achieve? Like what is your... Do you have an end goal?
I have big plans.
Oh,
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm kind of really informed by like my experience of being so cut off from like the contemporary art world. Like when I was growing up, I had no idea that there was even an art industry, really. I had this idea that the only artwork people look at anymore in museums are things that were made hundreds of years ago, basically, and like almost nothing new is being produced. And if there is, it's like crap, basically, right? That was like what I thought. Only because I just wasn't exposed to contemporary art at all as a kid. So I guess like what I'm trying to do with my practice is like show people here that they can pursue art seriously and like there is a path for them.
Right.
So I do that like through my work, like community work with the Arts Council and the Dawson Creek Art Gallery, is like make opportunities that are low barrier for artists to get them started. And then with my personal art practice, like I want to take that as far as I can to show like how far you can take it, you know, as far as I can take it, you know. So yeah, it's sort of like, I don't know, both sides. Yeah, and it was funny because no one expected me to come home after school.
Oh, yeah.
Like even people at the gallery, like I was like, no, I'm coming here after school. And they're like, what? Because like, okay, if you're serious about being an artist, you must want to stay down south, right? But like, I have found my place here. You know, there's like, I feel needed here.